Okay, so this video is going to be how to solve one-step equations using addition and subtraction only. And we're going to use a seesaw to help us kind of understand the parameters of it. A seesaw, you can be perfectly balanced if the two people on either end of that seesaw are the same size. Now, when we look at an equation, I want you to start looking at the equal sign as thinking of that as the middle of the equation. As you can see here, we have two sides that are perfectly balanced, a 3 on the left and a 3 on the right. Well, if we rewrote how that 3 was written, and instead we put 2 plus 1, this is still on the left side of the equal sign, and the equal sign is still right in the middle. And it's still balanced because 2 plus 1 really does equal 3. Well, we can go a little bit further. What if we wrote it as 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3? It's still balanced, and guess what's still in the center? The equal sign. So we've got two different sides. It's the left side and the right side. If I split up this 3 on the right side as 1/2 plus 2.5, well, guess what? It's still equal to 3. And so these two sides are still perfectly balanced. But what if suddenly it wasn't balanced? What if we took that plus 1 that I made red right there? What if we took that one away? Well, suddenly this would only be 2 over here, and this would still be 3. So this would be the lesser side, or the smaller side, and this would be a larger side. What would happen? I want you to stop and think about it. Think of it as if it was weights. If we had 2 pounds on this side, suddenly this side is lesser, and this side over here on the right is larger. What would happen to this 1 plus 1? Well, it would go up, because 2 is less than 3. And so now it's totally imbalanced, and that means that this equal sign is not telling the truth now. Um, how did we get there? Well, we took 1 away from this lesser side. So let's take 1 away from the larger side, and before we go to the next thing, I want you to think about what's going to happen here. This 3 minus 1 is going to become 2. Suddenly it's going to become balanced again. It's restored. And if we added 10 to this left side of the seesaw, so to speak, think about if it's going to go down or if it's going to go up. Well, 2 plus 10 is 12, so that's a lot heavier than just 2, so the balance is not there. What could we do to regain the balance? Just add 10 to the right side because that's what we did to the left side. And it's restored again. So here's the moral of the lesson. Whatever you do to one side of an equation, you've got to do the exact same thing to the other side of the equation. And it's all about thinking of that equal sign as the middle, okay? Because you have to keep the balance. That's what the equal sign is telling us, that those two sides are equal to each other. But if you do something to one side, you better do it to the other side to keep the balance. So now let's get straight into this balancing concept. We have -6 plus x equals 13. This equal sign is the middle of the equation, and this side is perfectly balanced to this side, but we want to find out what x is. So how do we do that? Well, first off, you find which side of the equal sign the x is on. In this case, it's on the left side, and that means we've got to get rid of this -6, okay? We've got to get rid of this -6. So how do we do that? We look in front of it, and if it's got a negative sign on there, or if it's a subtraction sign, I don't really care which one, you look in front of the number, and you're just going to do the opposite. So if it's negative, we would add. If it's adding, we would subtract. So -6 plus 6. And that's great, but if you did that to the left side of the equation to keep the balance, we better go add 6 to the right side of the equation. Draw a line on there, and then we just go through and we'll see what's happening. -6 plus 6 is 0, so there's no need to write anything. The plus x equals drops down, and 13 plus 6 is 19, and that's filled out there, and we don't really need that plus sign in front of the x, okay? So let's go do a different one here. Find the variable. So we want to solve for a. Find the number that needs to be moved away from the variable. In that case, it's 16. So now we check in front of it. We see it's got a minus sign there. So we will add 16 right underneath it, and then to keep the balance of the equation, we'll have to add 16 to the other side. Draw a line, and then just do the math. That a drops straight down. The -16 plus 16, that cancels, and there's nothing there. The equal sign will be able to drop straight down when we're ready, and -20 plus 16 is -4. And notice how I'm going to kind of squish the a and the -4 closer to the equal sign. There you go, that's better. So let's do it again. Where's the variable? Well, Why? Which number do we need to get rid of? The negative 1.23 or the 4.67? Absolutely, we need to get rid of the negative 1.23 because it's on the same side as that variable. And we want that variable all by itself. So now we look in front. Hey, I see a negative sign there. So we'll put a positive 123 underneath it. And it's like adding uh, negative 1.23 plus 1.23. But you've got to do it to both sides. So put it on the other side of the equal sign. Draw the line, and then just do the math. There we go. Y equals 5.9. Which side is the variable on with this one? As you can see, it's on the right side. So which number do we want to get rid of? We want to get rid of the number that's on the same side with the variable. That's key. Okay, so when that variable switches sides, pay attention where that variable's at and then get rid of the number that's next to it. So look in front of that number. Hey, it's a minus sign, so we'll put a plus sign. And now we'll do the same to the other side. Do the math. And there you have it. Negative 2.6 equals x.